Hey, howdy, friends. Steve DePoe here with the Rose Realty team with this week's real estate vlog for North Texas. Hey, but before I get started, you know what? Apologies. We didn't have a vlog last week. That's probably because, well, naturally it's my fault, but probably because I was involved in a charity golf event all last week for St. Jude's Hospital. And so couldn't fit it into my schedule to do this vlog. Sorry about that. I'll do my best to make sure it never happens again. This week's vlog is we're going to be talking about kitchen cabinet finishes. Now, this is a request from Lisa up in Wisconsin. She had mentioned, "Hey, I wonder if Steve's going to do some stuff about kitchen cabinet finishes." And Lisa, this one's for you. So let's get started here. So stained kitchen cabinets. So stain is applied to the wood, changes the color, enhances the grain, and it brings out the imperfections or the different densities in the wood that's part of the kitchen cabinets. The cabinets can also be stained like sort of underneath the kitchen cabinets. There's always like that sort of indentation where sometimes we put lights, countertop lights. So if you stain that a different color, then it'll give you sort of like this 3D look, right? It's kind of cool. Generally, it's rubbed down with a rag, not a paintbrush, but with a rag. And these require oftentimes a couple of rounds of sanding and applying finishing and sanding, and that kind of technique to get kind of a smooth finish. Okay, the pros. Different areas in the wood soak up the stain differently depending on the density of the wood. So it kind of gives you this sort of craftsman or handcrafted kind of style. The downside is there's not a lot of color choices in the stains as there are, for example, in the paint, which we'll talk about in a couple of minutes. Glazed finishes. Well, glazed finishes is usually done over a different color, either over paint or over a stain. Okay, they're kind of called faux finishes. The technique is apply a base coat, and then which is the stain or the paint, and then you apply the glazing to the front of it. Sometimes you rub it off. You rub the glazing off and then apply a varnish to that to help protect it. Pros and cons. Again, it gives you a visual depth, to the cabinet and brings out, again, sort of like the interesting textures and colors and imperfections in the wood, which is kind of neat. The cons, it's really work intensive and hand intensive kind of work. I would suggest that you take your time with it and that you allow probably double the amount of time that you think, because you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to glaze it, kind of take it off, add it again, wipe some off, and then varnish it. So it's almost like a 4 or 5 step process involved there. So expect it to take longer than you think. Third is painting. Okay, now painting is great. It comes in a lot of different colors, a lot of different textures, you might want to call it, and shines and sheens. You kind of hide the natural characteristics found in the wood. You kind of hide that over a little bit, so you get a consistency between cabinets, between rooms, that kind of deal. A lot of different colors and a lot of different types of paint. You can get like a really hard paint, a really kind of hard, I'm going to call it industrial kind of paint in a way that won't quite ship as much. But we're going to get to in a second that shipping could be prevalent in painted cabinets. The technique again is that you have to prepare the wood. You sand it down beforehand. This kind of a technique is called referred to as opaque or opaques. And many painted cabinets sometimes have a varnish on top to help add for durability and prevent against chips and scratches and that kind of stuff. The pros is that it's kind of a clean look, and you can, like I kind of said a minute ago, you can get matching colors in terms of different rooms in the house. So the cabinet's going to all look the same, no matter how old the wood is, the cabinets are, what kind of wood you're using. It will all look the same because it's paint, and it's opaque. Like I said, it's not see-through. The cons is they're likely to chip and dent. Could rub off in like these highly used areas. That's the problem we're facing again in our house, especially around the sink where you get drips off the sink. It was kind of wearing away there. We're going to actually get our cabinets repainted probably later this year. I'm going to think probably November or something like that. And lastly, varnishing. So varnishing cabinets tend to have ultra durability to the cabinets and heat resistant. Now, even though we're talking about the kitchen, I'm not 100% sure how heat resistant they have to be, what kind of stuff you're cooking in your kitchen that, we're really worried about the heat resistance of the cabinets. But anyway, all natural cabinets will have more of a varnish to them rather than paint. So they're going to need, the natural cabinets are going to need the varnish in order to protect them. The technique is traditional. We've all done it before, right? You could do a combination of oil or resin kind of paints. When it dries, it undergoes this chemical reaction to the wood and sort of adheres there, to the wood itself. The pros is that it resists aging and yellowing, heat and corrosion naturally. Okay. And again, the cons is it's susceptible to chips and dings and wear, and depending on the type of paint you're using, it could or could not be resistant to like water, for example. I'd suggest that in the high water areas, like by the sink, as an example, you potentially maybe put a varnish over it, even though it may have a different color and sheen to it. You consider using a more durable, harder kind of paint, so that it would take a longer time to wear away. I hope that was helpful, Lisa. There you go. You got your cabinet finishes vlog. Next week we're going to talk about, for the first time, we're going to talk about National Heroes Day, which is October 8th in a couple of weeks. National Heroes Day is something that's rather new. Why don't you look it up and see when National Heroes Day started, and because we're going to cover that next week. This is Steve. I am with the Rose Realty team. Have a good day.